Okay. So for The Simpsons, currently I'm a storyboard artist on the show. Specifically, I'm a storyboard revision artist. The storyboard artist is basically the first artist on board along with the director. And then they kind of plan out the visuals of the entire show based on the script. There's 3 storyboard artists per act, and an act is basically a commercial break. So storyboard artist kind of does a comic book version of the show that then gets plussed up, and a few poses are added to be shown as what is called a story reel to the writers. After that, they write revisions based on what they think needs improving. They write revisions on the for the story in the script, and so that's when I come in. I get that version of the script, and anything new, and anything that got changed, and anything that needs whatever little note they wanted or whatever, I've got to do that. It was the first time that I actually was not doing revisions, and I was given the opportunity to I was handed an entire act to do, and it happened to be the 500th episode, and it was very exciting for me. So they were going to show the story reel of Act 1 at San Diego Comic Con that season, or that year. Like within a month or so of me finishing it, Comic Con was going to begin. And so they gave me less time to do it. They gave me a whole entire week less. And on top of that, it was my first time doing it, and it was crazy. And so I actually managed to finish. And the irony is that at the end of the day, they didn't show it. It was frustrating, but it was very. But for me, it was very exciting, and I was proud of the fact that I was able to pull it off in spite of circumstances. So. And another one that sticks out in my mind is the current Halloween episode was making fun of the 2012 thing. And it had this thing where these Mayan gods started stomping Springfield and destroying the earth. Because I had zero idea what I was going to do with that. Because it was an added revision thing. And it was like, okay, now just do this gigantic epic destruction of the earth. I'm like, what? Like, what am I supposed to do? Luckily, I have a really good director that was also a storyboard artist too. And he's like, okay, see this movie over here? And it was that movie 2012. He's just lift as many shots as you can and piecemeal them together somehow. It kind of happened in high school. Oh. Okay, so I had a friend in high school because what I thought I was going to do for the rest of my life was comic strips. I was going to work on newspaper comic strips. That's what I wanted to do since I was in 3rd or 4th grade. So he had gone to this high school that had like an open house, and their open house had an animation program. And Tex Avery was really inspiring to me. So I suddenly said, hey, yeah, I'll be an animator. I'll learn animation. So my friends and I went to that school. Now there was the teacher that taught the classes there was very connected to the animation industry. And in fact, he had internships set up for the top students that applied for those internships to go to Disney, to go to Film Roman, which is the Simpsons. There was an opening for interns. I applied, and a friend of mine applied, and it was actually another student also applied, and we all ended up getting an internship there, and that's kind of how I put it going. We were asking around to see what we could do. Can we do this? Can we do that? What can we help you with? Like, we were just like really hustling, right? Like we were like trying to get them to like give us work. And it turned out that little by little they started getting more and more confident in our work. And by the end of our internship, they hired all of us, all 3 of us. Like I mean, it couldn't have been more of a perfect storm because also the time that education industry was at a very high hiring rate. Lion King was coming out. It was like a perfect storm of, well, I don't know, providence, because there's no other way to explain. I mean, it just happened. Um, and when I say providence, I don't mean that, oh, because God had this plan for me to be working in the. No, it's a little bit more like, because this happened, I had enough money to help my family because my dad lost his job. And I was actually able to like pay the bills for a few years while my dad didn't work. And I'm like, oh, if I hadn't done this, hadn't happened, when it happened, I wouldn't be in a position to be able to help my family do this. Just straight out Catholic. I might do that. I mean, I've got ideas, but right now, because I'm so into all kinds of other really nerdy stuff, I'd rather stick Catholic themes and Catholic thought and Catholic theology in the middle of, say, a cyberpunk story, and not have it so blatantly obvious Catholic while still having it be Catholic. That way, at least it gets read by a good chunk of people that would immediately get turned off if it seemed preachy. To be honest, I didn't have. I was raised Catholic, and I went through CCD and all that stuff, and I was pretty much really lukewarm until the 2000s. Just about 50% of my coworkers at work uh, were non-Catholic Christians, Protestant, and the world was coming to an end because it was 2000. So they were all ready for them to get raptured, and the rapture, this and the rapture, and they were just raptured. Rapture was going nuts at the studio. And boy, did they let me have, because they were just like, oh, so you're a Christian and all this other stuff. So they asked me everything about Catholicism because they wanted me to be saved, right? Because obviously I couldn't possibly be saved because I'm Catholic. And their arguments were very compelling. But I'm the type of person that said, you know what, that's a good question about Mary. That's a good question about the saints, and that's a good question about this and that, and why do we confess to a priest, and all this stuff. So I said, okay, you know what? Instead of just saying, okay, then I'm just gonna like jump ship, decided I'm going to find the answer, find out if the answer to these questions. What I love about Catholicism, and what makes Catholicism cool, is that not only were the questions, the answers there, but they were almost scientifically proven. It was like you could go back all the way to the beginning, and the Catholics were writing, and they were there. Like and Catholicism changed the world. The Catholicism changed the way we think. Catholicism is the only place on the planet still thinks reason and logic important. It's like Catholicism introduced me to pagan philosophers that I think I never even considered wanting to read about. I mean, Catholicism Christianized Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. And if you don't read them, you don't understand Aquinas and Augustine. And because you read them, then you understand how to think straight, so that you could understand these other thinkers. And then it's weird. The coolest thing about Catholicism is the deeper you dwell into Catholicism, the smarter you get. It forces you religion. It forces you to step up. If you question, the answers are there, but you have to be smart enough to understand them. You can't be a big dummy and get it, especially if you're trying to understand them intellectually, like intelligent, and not just from a spiritual, touchy-feely kind of a place, where a lot of people are uh, when they think they're thinking, but they actually aren't. Um, it forces it, that to me. That's the thing about Catholicism. You've got these incredibly smart, super intelligent um, G.K. Chesterton, Aquinas, Augustine, even though the same information and the same type of thing was there in Greece and in Islam and in in China they had all kinds of technologies. All these technologies existed, but the scientific method didn't develop except in Catholic Europe. Even though everybody had the same information. So the worldview is important. Uh, as G.K. Chesterton says, we're living off our Catholic, like the world right now is still Catholic. They're just now attempting to get rid of the trappings of Catholicism while trying to keep the morals. So I don't think it's possible to do that. But so that's why Catholicism is cool. It's cool because, like I said, you have to step up. It doesn't meet you in a touchy feely place. You have to become smart enough to understand it to really grasp uh, Catholicism. You can get as a child gets, but the deeper you dwell, the more you have to step up. And because you step up, it raises you up. And it's just about you can experience rather than what you can know. So it, it's just a really fulfilling path to walk.